September 11th, the day that shook America and the world to its core. 11 years after this event, many people still have questions about that day and the official investigation. According to a Zogby poll published in 2004, it found that 49% of New York City residents believed individuals within the U.S. government knew in advance that attacks were planned on or around September 11th and that they consciously failed to act. This video, however, is not intended to convince you of any conspiracy. It is simply here to show you that the 9/11 Commission itself did an awful job investigating the attacks. And if one wants to remain objective and understand history, we must reinvestigate. Meet Thomas Keane and Lee Hamilton. They are the two co-commissioners of the 9/11 investigation. They are both on record saying some very interesting things.
We thought we were set up to fail. We got started late. We had a very short time frame. Indeed, we had to get it extended. We did not have enough money. They were afraid we were going to hang somebody, that we would point the finger.
Lee and I write in our book that we think the commission in many ways was set up to fail because we had not enough money, we didn't have enough time, we'd been appointed by the most partisan people in Washington.
These quotes are critical in understanding why this investigation needs to be redone. Here we have the two most important people in the commission admitting that the conditions under which the investigation took place were nowhere near good enough to have an accurate response. Once somebody understands the implications of this quote, it is enough to convince most impartial people that we need a new investigation. But just for fun, here's another interesting quote from their jointly authored book, Without Precedent. Fog of war could explain why some people were confused on the day of 9/11, but it could not explain why all of the after-action reports, accident investigations, and public testimony by FAA and NORAD officials advanced an account of 9/11 that was untrue. Untrue, of course, being a politically correct way of saying a lie. There are a few more things to note when considering how much of a farce this investigation was. $30 million was spent on the Monica Lewinsky scandal, while only half of that was spent on the 9/11 Commission. Commissioner Max Cleland resigned from the commission, stating, "It is a national scandal. This investigation is now compromised." And he also said, "One of these days we will have to get the full story because the 9/11 issue is so important to America, but this White House wants to cover it up." Senior counsel to the 9/11 Commission, John Farmer, who led the 9/11 staff's inquiry, said, "At some level of the government, at some point in time, there was an agreement not to tell the truth about what happened." He also said, "I was shocked at how different the truth was from the way it was described. The tapes told a radically different story from what had been told to us and the public for 2 years. This is not spin. This is not true." All the sources to these quotes are in the description. These are not my words, they're the commissioners. If you can take this information at face value, I think the only logical conclusion is that we owe the soldiers, the 9/11 victims' families, and the entire world a new independent investigation. The only way that we can better our future is if we understand our past. Thank you for watching.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."